So we'll go ahead and begin. This is going to be super whack for the first go around, but this is going to be
The learning process.
the learning process. Yeah. So this is going to be sort of the inaugural episode of the allegedly essential podcast, where we
All
discuss just
right.
completely random things because I don't think we have a theme at all.
Mm-mm.
Not at all.
Not quite at all. So we figured we'd start out with an easy one, with the whole Xbox, PlayStation, kind of the new systems coming out, sort of a compare and contrast. Not necessarily a debate, but just a conversation in terms of the pros and cons of either one, and sort of like what we're excited about in terms of the next generation and the games that are coming out. So that's sort of the initial plan for this. Again, just to clarify, my name's Mikey, also known as Zeddy. If you're on my stream, then you should be aware of that. We also have some other people here if they want to introduce themselves.
Chaz, you can go ahead.
I'm Chaz, not Alice23. I'm also streaming it. Yeah,
You killed
that's
it,
me.
dude. Killed it.
Yeah, I'm great.
Killing it.
Two
Well,
notes. Work on introduction.
Right, yeah, work on introductions. So I'm Calvin, or Sangamonsta, on Twitch. I am currently not streaming it due to the fact that I am just lazy.
Yeah, it's who
But
cares?
I
with
do
that,
I do
yeah.
plan on starting because if we turn this into a full blown like schedule, it'll help me to get into a routine of actually doing it again.
That's the plan.
You know. So, but
And then
I like the moves that we're making.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Just for the fun of it, if anything.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have two faceless people here, which could be good just to give names, so then that way they can associate who the wise old man is and who Apex is.
white
Joe,
government.
also known as Apex.
I am Jeremy, also known as Wise Old Man or Lord Trio, whichever you choose. I don't have a stream. These are my friends. We gon' talk.
We gonna talk.
We're gonna talk here for a bit.
All right.
Webcams
sweet.
are on the to get list.
Yeah, one day. All right, so
One day.
should we dive in? Where would we like to begin with to looking at this?
So, I feel like we should start with like the concrete information that we know about the consoles physically,
Right.
because it'll give us a good like starting off point to talk about which
Mhm.
console or like what each console is bringing to the table from the console itself.
It's a good plan.
And then we could talk about like exclusive. I was talking to Mikey, Chaz, saying like you're kind of more of the exclusives guy. You know more about like the games that are coming to each console and
Yes.
stuff like that. I kind of know you know about like the specifications, but specifications and hardware is kind of my thing.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
like
for
talking
sure.
about specifications. So let me just bring this up. So I'm going to talk about PlayStation first. Its specifications. So both consoles are bringing 16 gigs of GDDR6 RAM to the
Mhm.
table, which is pretty expected. Most PCs nowadays, when you want to do a PC or a gaming PC, 16 gigs is usually what you want to run with. But the difference is this is running GDDR6 memory. Most PCs, pretty much all PCs, are running GDDR5 memory.
Okay, so
Uh,
we're seeing an improvement there.
We're seeing an improvement in RAM, which is increasing or decreasing load times
Okay.
between scenes and stuff like that in different areas in games.
Mhm.
So the CPU, both are bringing Zen 2 8-core processors.
Okay.
The PlayStation is running a little bit slower at 3.5 gigahertz, but that doesn't really matter a whole lot. You're really splitting hairs when
Yeah.
you're talking about the clock speeds.
So in terms of like that, how would that affect like a user experience? Would that even be
So
noticeable?
So, because of the fact that they have virtually the same processors, I'm sure they're built a little different. There's not a whole lot of discrepancy between the two.
Okay.
As for the clock speeds, there may be certain situations where higher clock speeds will help. Like if there's a lot of stuff going on the screen at that time, it'll help out. Or if there's a lot of stuff to generate.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing I can think of would be take a game like Dynasty Warriors. which is constantly has tons of enemies on screen.
Right.
Right.
Like, although I actually put on my stream the system specs for comparison. Although it's pretty minimal, those like that will make the ultimate difference of like whether your console is going to render all those guys on the screen at once, like which is going to have the better experience. And honestly, it looks like for the Xbox Series X, that might be better.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the biggest difference between the two consoles, hardware wise, are two things. It's the GPU and the storage. I know storage is kind of a talking point because Sony came out with that a couple months ago. They had that that like weird podcast thing that they did where they were just talking about the audio and the SSD.
Yeah.
So the two biggest differences are the GPU, which is the graphics, and then the storage. So the GPU difference, they're both bringing the same graphics to the table. It's just Xbox Series X is bringing more of the same thing.
Okay.
So like everything's custom, obviously. Like it's not just some random desktop graphics card.
Mhm.
It's like an actual custom chip that's built for these consoles themselves. And I know teraflops is like a buzzword, and it's like a measurement that like doesn't exist. But Xbox Series S is bringing 12 teraflops, and PlayStation 5 is bringing like 10.3 roughly, 10 and a half roughly.
Yeah.
What is a teraflop?
So a teraflop is essentially the amount of graphical power. It's just
Okay.
it's a measurement that almost doesn't even exist.
It's like a
outside
made
of
up
the fact-
unit kinda.
It's a made up unit
Yeah.
of graphical power.
Okay.
I'm sure there's math behind it and everything, but the math is almost like it doesn't even matter what the math is. It's just a made up measurement to determine the graphical power.
Okay.
So the biggest thing is the ray tracing, and I know that's also another big like buzzword.
Yeah, I've heard
is
that
ray
come up a little
tracing.
bit.
Right. Xbox Series X has actual like DirectX ray tracing. PlayStation 5 has ray tracing, but it's not like the actual branded ray tracing. So I don't really know exactly what they're going to bring to the table for that.
So it's probably going to just be ray tracing, but for the sake of because Sony is very peculiar about their copyrights, as we saw with the PlayStation 3 and the 360 with the Blu-ray drive.
Yeah.
It's probably just going to be ray tracing, but for the sake of not having to pay out to like Nvidia or someone, whoever owns the copyright to the name ray tracing, it's probably just the same thing, but different enough that they can have their own copyright on it.
Right. I mean, yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, that's sort of like what I assume there, just sort of like based off the idea, but not through the company.
Right.
Okay.
It could be that, but it's still just like there's an ambiguity of like, is it going to actually be ray tracing or is it going to be like Aldi brand ray tracing?
So,
Right.
do you know anything like? Could you maybe in like layman's terms sort of explain like the basics of ray tracing or like what that means?
So ray tracing is essentially it's almost literally object permanence in the game.
Okay.
So if on your screen you're in an area and say there's like a car in front of you and you're hiding behind the car,
Mhm.
and there's like a puddle underneath the car, most games, because of the fact that you can't see what's on the other side of the car, it won't render it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But with ray tracing, the amount of graphical power that is available to the system, it'll render what's on the other side of the car, and you'll be able to see the reflections within the puddle. So
okay.
all it is just light being reflected off of certain surfaces, even if you can't see it.
Got it. So that's gonna add a level of ambiance probably. That it's sort of like the
Yeah.
thing that you probably never thought about, but once you have it, it's gonna probably feel like something that you couldn't live without. I would guess. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's adding an extra layer of immersion.
Mm-hmm.
And it also adds, if you're looking at it from the esports level, obviously when you're esports level, you already take into consideration like, oh, this dude might be behind this car.
Right.
But I kind of see it as a, if ray tracing becomes more of a open available, like more available piece of technology, it's adding a more accessible level of esports, I guess, in the sense of like, for people who aren't audibly trained or don't have the best headphone or the best sound card or whatever, because this has been a big thing, especially in FPSs. Battlefield 5 was the big one to really push the ray tracing. It gives you the idea, like it helps you literally visualize that dude's behind the car or dude's across the field, but I can see him in the puddle of the water or something like that.
Got it.
So
Got
like
it. Yeah.
like I think ray tracing is pretty cool, even if it's just more as for aesthetic purposes. It still is helpful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's all there to just build like the world around you and
Yes,
just kind
for
of
sure.
immerse yourself.
For sure.
So it's just an added feature.
Mhm. And so it's
and-
looking
and-
like we're gonna see that on both then.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. 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 Good.
Yeah, they'll both be on there. So the last piece of hardware that I kind of want to talk about that's kind of a difference, is the storage. So I know I talked about earlier, Sony came out with their webcast or whatever they were doing for the SSD and talking about audio. Now the big difference between Xbox and the PlayStation storage is Xbox has come out and said that their storage is going to be NVMe, which is essentially like the fastest storage that you can get on the market currently right now. It's faster than normal SSDs. PlayStation has not stated if they're bringing it, like concrete, giving us information that it's going to be NVMe.
Okay.
And that could be a determining factor for a lot of people. Because of the fact that you have such fast storage versus just a regular SSD, and if the price point is the same, some people may just go for that NVMe. Now, the only issue is that probably the general public doesn't know the difference between an SSD and an NVMe SSD.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where, so yes, absolutely, NVMEs are state of the line, like they're fast as hell. I currently have one in my computer. I know you do. I think Joe Apex does. But yeah, they're fast as shit. But I think the challenge would be for the developers of the games would be to not solely rely on the write and read speed of the drive, but more so how well optimized can you make your game to utilize the drive speed or accommodate
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have it. For example, I want to bring up Ghost of Tsushima. Hot game right now. Lots of people are liking it. One of the things that it's critically hailed as, or hailed for, is that it has, I think, 2 loading screens, and that's when you start the game and when you like manually save the game. Other than that, it doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the PS4 currently, because this is an exclusive title, which we'll get into exclusivities later, but the PS4 uses a mechanical drive.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I think the challenge would be more so on the developers to actually make their game optimized to accommodate for whether or not, if the PS5 does not have an NVMe, because expandable, yes, it will, but internally we don't know yet, like you said.
Right.
So I'm curious. I'm very interested to see, because now that a game for current gen has set that standard of, we can make a game that has no load screens, that's an open world game, that has tons of things going on in it. If that standard is already there, I want to see if next gen can match that, you know?
Right.
With given the system specs of both systems, I don't see why they can't.
No, I don't see why they can't either. I don't see any issue as to why they wouldn't be able to do that. To be completely honest, both of the systems they bring a lot to the table
Right.
versus
Absolutely.
last gen, which is good to see that development happening.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a
Um,
bigger step than we've seen
Yes.
from the last generation jump, which is good to see.
Right. There's been a lot of development on the hardware side of things for both systems, showing that neither of them want to take a step back. They want to continue with the consoles. I don't know how long they're going to be able to continue with the consoles because we're starting to almost bridge the gap between the consoles and the PCs.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a big one there.
Right. It's a big topic up for debate whether or not consoles are even relevant anymore. But I feel with the specs that they're bringing to the table right now for the general consumer, I feel like the hardware that they're bringing, I feel like this generation of consoles will thrive even in a world where they're getting closer and closer to PCs.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, Chaz, like with the developers, I feel like a lot of this, because of the fact that they have so much, like a lot of good hardware for the developers to use, I feel like a lot of the games now are getting like tenfold better.
Yes.
So and I'm trying to like bridge the gap to where we can start talking about exclusive games, and you can kind of take over the conversation, Chaz, because you're more of the games guy.
So before we get into the exclusivity part, I want to bring up a game that's I'm pretty sure, yeah, it is now on 3 different generations, which is Grand Theft Auto 5.
GTA 5.
There it is. Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys played GTA 5. Okay, Chewy's going in the covers.
Look at him go.
I don't know if
my god.
I don't know if you guys played GTA 5 when it was on the PS3 and 360.
Yeah,
the
actually, yeah, I did play it on 360.
The load times were abysmal.
Yeah,
It was
it was
the worst.
insane. Yeah.
It was the worst.
And when they released the HD version on current gen, the load times were still shit.
They were still bad.
Better, but still shit.
Mhm.
So, and I know for the PS5 when they did their game showcase, they started off with GTA 5, which was very moan and groan from the just general population. But I want to see, like, if we already have games that are not just as busy, but if we already have games that are already open world, I want to see if Rockstar can basically say, hey guys, fuck Sucker Punch, we're the hot dogs in town, let's make GTA 5 no load screens at all.
Right.
Like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see the next Elder Scrolls game, no load screens. The next Fallout, no load screens. Whatever the next ambitious open world title is, I want to see no load screen.
Well, I think that's definitely the road in which that's one of the things that like you're moving toward. You know, there's certain things in terms of game development that cap out based off of like just manpower and developer power. Like, I mean, reducing load screens is something that is system based, that once we get to a generation like this is completely achievable, and I think that should be a target for this generation, like across the board. Is that if you could get a
Absolutely.
GTA game of that size to be able to run on no load screens, I think that's a pretty big statement, and then like that just makes the game generally better. Like when you talk about graphics or something, you can be limited on artist ability and constraints of the company, but something like that, like for pure gameplay, I think that should be a main priority.
Yes.
Agreed.
So,
I think Joe popped in there.
So is Xbox doing the same thing like PlayStation is, like 2 different versions of the console, one for disc versions and one for digital only?
So
It's unconfirmed, but it's highly likely.
yeah, even if it's not on launch, we can safely assume that Xbox will try the all digital again. Maybe not like the first year, but probably within the first 2 or 3 years of the console cycle, we could probably see an all digital. Just
Yeah.
for the reason being, like, brick and mortar stores like GameStop and Amazon, or not, sorry, not Amazon, Walmart, stuff like that, are not really viable. Or they're viable, but they're not doing things to remain competitive in
Hmm.
the retail sphere of game purchasing. So more and more people are going to digital. So it'd be kind of clown just because the Xbox One S all digital kind of flopped. It'd be kind of clown for them to not attempt it again. Uh,
Well, I think that that's sort of the question. Is just is the community at the point where they're more accepting of digital? I think that I think people were like weirdly apprehensive about it, about the idea of not physically having the game, as if they could somehow like lose their investment. But I think, as we all know, it's not the case. It's better in many ways, at least a personal opinion of that. Do you think that has shifted now? I feel like it's moved in that direction.
so
I personally like the digital more than disc for reasons of your disc getting damaged or scratched up or anything like that. It's just always on your system.
Hmm.
um, so I want to speak as a. I'm going to use myself as a source. For those who don't know, I was a manager at GameStop for about a year. Yeah, I think it was a year. So I saw
Yeah,
all
it's been
types of
about.
customers come in. Um, and over the course of that year, I saw a lot of my regulars drop physical games for digital. For the reason that Joe just said, of like, it's hard to keep track of the discs. Sometimes they get damaged, and if you don't have a warranty or something, like, you're screwed. Because games are expensive, $60, and if if EA has their way, $70 for the next gen. That adds up. And with digital, because the Microsoft Store or the PlayStation Store won't have to go through the middleman of GameStop, Walmart, the mom and pop shops. They can run all the sales that they want. uh, Unfortunately, Nintendo will still abide by Nintendo's dated ideology of charging $60 for Pokemon. But either way, uh, that's a different podcast that we'll talk about one day. Uh, but yeah, no, I do think that as a gaming community, we're definitely moving more towards digital as the primary platform.
One thing that I thought of as we were talking about that, in terms of like, because as of right now, we do not have any confirmed price for either console. But something I'm
Correct.
curious about is what the price of games is going to look like. If we're going to see a $10 increase to pull base up to
Oh,
70. I know
Uh,
that Ubisoft has mentioned that they want to stay with the $60 price,
yeah.
right.
at least for launch. But I'm curious to see sort of like what variation we might see in that price, in terms of like later on down the road, if we see games increase, just because of the different style games we get on a system that's more powerful. And then also too, if we move into a more digital framework and you take out manufacturing and distribution and things like that, is that something that can offset the higher demands on the game and keep the price where it is? Because they'll never go lower. Why would they ever go lower? But in terms of
Right.
maintaining a $60 base price and not increasing for the new generation.
I ideally you'll ideally everything should stay at 60.
Right.
But when you take into consideration market value and just general inflation, and but like you said, taking out manufacturing costs, retailing costs, things like that, yeah, there should be no reason that it can't stay at 60.
Hmm.
But then you have 2K games and EA games that are like, hey, you want NBA 2K21, right?
Yeah, they said
$70.
70. Yeah, they said
You
70.
want Madden 2021? $70.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But if you have good guy Ubisoft, that's like Assassin's Creed Valhalla,
Good guy.
60.
Ubisoft.
Watch Dogs Legion, 60. So it re- it might end up being that your annual sports titles might end up being 70, only because they know they can. Because the highest selling games are always going to be your Madden, your 2K, maybe not FIFA much anymore, but your general sports titles are always going to be, they're always going to sell no matter what.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if the company can get away with charging $70 for it, why won't they?
Right.
Yeah, I
so
feel like the main uh, companies that will charge $70 for a game are the companies that know they will sell their game regardless of price.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that like Ubisoft is sitting at home saying like, oh, people might not buy our game. People will still buy their games,
Right.
but will they be able to get away with it without a whole lot of flack?
Yeah, I guess that's the
Yeah.
question. Joe, I think you had something to say on this.
yeah, so far right now the only company that raised their price on their games is 2K right now. Madden
Oh,
stuck
Madden
to
didn't?
it. No, Madden stuck with
Oh.
the regular, but they do have 3 different like editions. You got like the
Right.
deluxe edition, or
Superstar
the
edition.
yeah, like Superstar edition.
Yeah.
But
Now,
regular standard price is the same, so I can respect EA for doing that. But right now, 2K is the only one that's all like, since the graphics are gonna be 10 times better, we're gonna up the price for the game.
yeah, don't give EA too much credit, because if they see that 2K makes a killing by charging 70, you bet your ass next year they're going to be right up there.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
next year it'll be
Oh, I'm
straight
sure of it.
straight up to the moon.
Well, that's sort of the thing is just you'll see the market move. If you have a game successfully sell at 70, every game will move to 70. And that was sort of something that I thought with Ubisoft too, is that like they're not going to just stick at 60 and try to like be the nice guy. You know, if the
Right,
market
right.
moves to a $70 price point, they're going to follow, and the high horse gets a little shorter, you know. So there's sort of that. On topic of games, though, sort of just to transition a little bit,
Yeah.
two very different philosophies in terms of going forward with exclusivity in the games. You see
Right.
PlayStation sticking to their tried and true sort of like idea of being innovators and things like that in terms of the fact that they have their exclusive games and you should like. And I think that's a big pull to PlayStation is to get those games that can't be played anywhere else, and also to like not only that, but sort of like I think they said it's at some point in one of their media things that you're not gonna see like a whole lot of like PlayStation 4 titles being brought up, like that they can't necessarily bring everything up to the new system. So definitely like a push on like new games for them as opposed to Xbox, who is claiming like no exclusives, that you can play them on PC, you can play them on Xbox One, at least for most of the titles. So it's sort of a duality there. I'm curious as your thoughts on that.
So, let's start with PlayStation, because PlayStation forever has been known as like a king of exclusive titles.
Oh yeah.
So what was it, about 2 months ago now at this point? They held their big PS5 showcase, where we saw Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ratchet and Clank, the Demon Souls remaster, Gran Turismo 7, the new Horizon game. So all these are intended to be within the first year or two of the PS5's launch. Some of those are supposed to come out with the PS5. And yes, Sony is very strict on what they do with their exclusive titles. I know recently some of their older exclusives like Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding, and a couple of others have found their way onto Steam.
Mm-hmm.
But those are outside of Death Stranding, which just came out last year or earlier this year, last year. Most of those are a couple years old now. But then you have the Microsoft, whose big, like you said, their big philosophy is if you're gonna buy it on the Xbox One, you're gonna have it on Series X, and you're gonna have it on PC. That's phenomenal. That's great. That's a great business strategy. Because for all of us, we're primarily PC gamers. That we can all agree on that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So having the ability to like not be a year behind in order to play the new Halo or the new Forza when it comes out is really nice.
Mhm.
Like luckily, I'm pretty sure a PS5 will be in my future, so I'll be able to play Miles Morales, which the Spider-Man game was one of my favorites. I have the figure over there somewhere. Uh, so like, I'm not gonna go out and rush to buy a PS5 specifically to play it, but it does suck though that you have Sony's direct competitor basically saying, "Here you go. The day it comes out on Xbox is the day it comes out on PC, and if you decide to not want to straight up buy the game, you have the Game Pass." And every single game that they showed on their showcase on last Thursday is going to be on Game Pass day one. Like
Yeah.
they said that at starting off the stream. And
That's big.
Yeah,
that's
it's a huge
big.
move.
That's
Yeah.
very big. Because at the moment, the Game Pass is only $9. I believe it's $9 for PC.
Yes, I think
That's only
so.
Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
So if the price point for their subscription service stays the same, and if you're a guy like me who pretty much plays games as they go, either you play it in one sitting and you beat it, or you play it, drop it for a little bit, go back to it. Maybe that $60, $70 price point doesn't work out for you, and you can just pay that $9 a month, subscribe to that Game Pass for that month, have all those games, and then say, "I'm done." You just paid $9. You didn't pay the 60
Right.
or the 70.
Yeah.
That's big.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Especially if they're putting like those big titles on there, because like I mean,
Yeah.
for me personally, I don't remember the last time like I bought a fresh $60 game. You know what I'm saying? Because I have the Ultimate Game Pass. I pull my games on there. Like if I do something else, I usually just pull it off Steam or something digital at a discounted price. Like so, in terms of if I think about myself, like I definitely lean far more toward the Xbox side than the PlayStation side, just because
Yeah.
simply for my gameplay style and how I play games, it leans definitely more toward a subscription-based library than individual titles. And the Xbox Game Pass is exceedingly dense. Like there's so many games in there. They're like I haven't even felt like I have so many games on my to-do list that I haven't even gotten to yet, and that's just off of like just the Game Pass itself. So I think it's a great strategy. I think it's really cool, and I think it really and again, this is my personal opinion. We can play devil's advocate, but I think it's a real gut punch to PlayStation. Like
Absolutely.
I think it's
So-
far ahead.
So PlayStation's big subscription service right now is PlayStation Plus. Currently, as it stands, PlayStation Plus only gets you 2 games a month and access to the online service,
Mhm.
and it's $15 every month. Kind of crap.
Yeah.
Because if you want the equivalent to the Game Pass, you have to do PlayStation Now, which is a whole nother fee on top of the fee for PlayStation Plus. At the end of it all, you'll be paying $30, $45 a month for something that Microsoft is offering to you for $9 a month.
Right.
It's-
Well, the 9 because the 9 is for the PC version. What is
PC
it?
version.
Okay, what is it for just Xbox?
So just Xbox, I think, is like, I want to say $10 a month. But if you get Xbox and PC together, it's like 15.
It's 15 because I
And
have
it comes
that.
with
Yeah.
Xbox Live.
Which that's another thing too is the revelation that it looks like Xbox Live is kind of like in terms of cost going away or something like that.
Well, it's
Big rumor.
rumored. It's rumored. It's not necessarily like they haven't come out and said it. But
right.
Like a couple weeks ago, they took the 12-month subscription cards that you could buy,
Mhm.
and it was like $60 for 12 months of Xbox Live service.
Right.
And because of the fact that the console is coming out within the next like 5 months or so,
Mhm.
it's kind of weird for them to get rid of the 12-month subscription for Xbox Live Gold
Yeah.
if they're not going to get rid of Xbox Live
im-
Gold and
it-
kind of
yeah.
incorporate it in with the Game Pass.
So I had something I wanted to say
Go ahead.
about both consoles. I think, in my opinion, I've played both heavily. Well, I played PlayStation for a decent amount, but I remember from pretty much the previous generation through this generation, and I'm gonna assume the generation going forward. In my personal opinion, and I think it's the usually the majority of opinion, that Xbox has the stronger online platform.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And so going forward, I think that's going to also put a little damage on PlayStation, just for the fact that, like, now granted, because they're an exclusivity system, they kind of uh make their name on things like you said, Spider-Man Miles Morales or the Horizon Dawn game. Those are really good single player games, but if I'm trying to play games with friends, it's difficult for me to do that unless I just talk with them about it after I've played it.
Right.
Like, that's so there is
So,
that kind of level.
uh, piggybacking off of that, uh, so another thing that Sony's really big on is getting the license of advertising and license to exclusive DLCs to games that are multi-platform. For example, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Black Ops 4, well, pretty much Call of Duty over the last like 4 or 5 years
Like I think it's been like the past
uh,
like 3 years.
have all had tons of exclusive content on PlayStation to mainly draw people to play that game on PlayStation. I
Yeah.
don't know how long that contract is lasting, but I see Sony, the way that I see it is Sony is facing their problems by throwing money at it, in the way of, I think that they fully understand that Microsoft has the superior online, that Microsoft has a superior business model, especially going forward. Maybe back at the beginning of last generation, Microsoft kind of clowned, and Sony took full advantage of that. Uh, but I just see that Sony is just like, okay, well, we're not going to fix our infrastructure, but we're just going to basically strong arm people to play the games on our system by giving Activision a multi-million dollar contract of, this game will only have this DLC for PlayStation for a year before PC gets it or Xbox gets it.
Right.
For example, the Spec Ops DLC for Modern Warfare. Like, no one likes Spec Ops, but at the end of the day, that's still a part of the game that if you bought it on Xbox or PC, you don't get to play.
Right.
Check out this awesome content. Nobody thinks it's awesome, but look at it. You get it in a year. I don't want
Right.
it in a year. I don't want it. I don't even want it now.
Right.
But
Got
but
him.
what I'm worried about is, because I don't like DLC, like the concept of DLC. I like expansions, but I don't like DLC. Uh,
Okay.
but I'm very, very worried that Sony, the way that Sony is going to basically, like I said, keep throwing money at their problems by forcing people to buy their console and play the game on their console to get exclusive content.
So the thing that I was gonna kind of say, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying originally, with Xbox having the superior online platform, they can give me things that I can only get on their console. But when I play it on their console and I'm having a subpar experience due to either network reliability or just poor specs of the system. Now, we're not talking about huge gaps, but the small gaps, when compounded, can add up. And then I'm going to have a better time playing online on Xbox. I think for me personally, I would choose that system just because, unless they're giving me like an entire whole new game, um, parts of a game usually can kind of be ignored because most of the time they're not like super relevant. Like you said, Spec Ops. Nobody wants Spec Ops. Um, it exists, but nobody talks about it. So,
Right.
like, if they're going to keep giving me that, I would prefer to go with the system that's going to give me more of a reliable experience, more
For sure.
comfortable, ease of access, especially with the PC and console blend. I think them going forward, like we've kind of discussed, has this extremely strong business model. The question I kind of want to raise is how exactly, because they did this with the new Gears, and they just straight up, as soon as it launched, put it on Game Pass. It's
Yeah.
interesting because it's like, I do wonder how that nets money.
Mhm.
Um,
So
because like you kind of want to sell the game, correct? Like the developers of the game need to make their money, and maybe they get a partition of like almost maybe it works something like like how like when you do ads and the amount of time you view ads or something, like the amount of time they play their game while on Game Pass. Maybe, I don't know, but
Uh,
uh, I so pretty much my response to that would be, uh, say you sell Gears 5 at $60 brand new, or you do the subscription to Game Pass because it hit Game Pass day one at $9 or $15 if you decide to do Ultimate. Uh, most of the games that they do for that are first party games, so you don't have to pay that outsourcing fee to, for instance, like Ubisoft. You don't have to pay Ubisoft for the development of the game, and to also like pay dividends and just all sorts of just general marketing numbers there.
yeah.
If it's your first party game, you can basically say, we're going to give, uh, who does Gears?
Gears is Epic Games.
Yeah.
Okay, but Gears is still an exclusive to Microsoft like brand.
Yeah.
So they could tell Epic, we're going to give you a flat this much money for the game.
Yeah.
And if they take the hit, like if Microsoft takes the hit, that's fine for them because they're getting people to pay for that service.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's different if it's like, okay, Activision's greedy. Activision's going to keep wanting more and more and more and more and more,
Right.
where Microsoft might not be able to like keep up with that, which is why you don't have Call of Duty on Game Pass.
Right. It's sort of the same idea with any. You see this a lot with like other subscription based things. Like a lot of times people will wonder why things come and go on, say, like Netflix, and it's because you have the company that's running it that gets the money from the subscriptions will buy the licensing for a certain amount of time. And so like for Gears, they buy it basically. Epic gets paid out for it, and then the revenue from the subscriptions goes to Microsoft, and the hope is that it's flashy. Gears is cool. Everybody's like, oh yeah, and then they get a bump in subs, and then they make money. Yeah, either way, they're making money because there are people who have Game Pass that don't give a shit about Gears, but.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of like how they can sort of get around with it. So it's like, I guess, I don't know. Is that the future? Is it?
Well,
I
it
don't
does
know.
seem to be every single major player in media markets, as far not like news networks, but like you have Disney, you have Netflix, you have Hulu. All these guys are subscription based, and they all have like similar structures. So it seems like that's technically kind of how we're gonna get to. And that is a good question because like Xbox kind of chose a really good time to trial run it, if you will.
Agreed.
Because this system, it's a good system, and especially up until they made what I don't know what it's called. Is it the One X? Is what's the one you have, Calvin?
The One X.
Okay, that one was the one that was like really powerful.
Yes.
And so like before that though, it was kind of just it was whatever. But then once they got to that, and then they're like, okay, we could start trying to. The only thing we're missing is just the connectivity of PC and Xbox and stuff. And you look at the stuff like you can bring back old games too to Game Pass, like you have the Master Chief Collection, which is a solid slam dunk. And I'm not sure, but I want to say that it's probably crossplay. I haven't attempted it. I haven't.
I
played
think
with
it is
anybody on
now.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
haven't played
now?
with anybody on Xbox.
I think
I
that was
don't
the,
think
like,
it started.
It
but-
wasn't before. I don't know if it is now. I know that I
I-
couldn't play on Xbox with people on PC.
I saw it trending yesterday, and I saw a lot of people playing it. So I feel like there was some type of major update, and I
Yeah.
know that was rumored. So I don't know. It's something we can look up later.
Well, right. Regardless of it, the fact that the main point being is the crossplay is going to seem alive and well because they're in a progressive state on that. They're not really regressing or stagnating technically. Because if you look at Sony, for example, if they don't do anything that's similar to that, I feel like they it could be a chance of falling off.
So crossplay, I do that's an excellent like topic.
Yeah.
So crossplay really started hitting it big when Fortnite kind of brought it to the table.
Yeah.
There were games before it that were like, let's try crossplay, like Rocket League. But when Fortnite
Like,
got it,
Fortnite like mainstreamed it almost.
right. Uh,
Well, I think
like
the key was Fortnite being free to play was the key
Yes.
to it finally
Yes, it was.
catching fire.
Yeah.
So crossplay, I think, is the future. Because per my philosophy, I don't want to have to go out and buy a whole new console to play with my friends, uh, for one game, especially one that's multi-platform. So like, not to keep bringing up Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it was a really good game. But with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, me and Calvin and Joe bought it on PC. Thank you for the follow. But me, Calvin, and Joe played it on PC. But we had Ethan, our coworker. Uh, thanks. But we had him play on Xbox,
My stream's
and we
dead.
just.
Okay, good.
But it was nice to play with him. And then I had people that at my GameStop that I played a couple games of Call of Duty. It was really nice. So I really do think that cross-platform is the future. I just hope that the companies play nice with it.
Yeah.
And like
I guess a
when it comes,
question: do you think this is switch, but do you think that will come with this generation?
yes, I wholeheartedly do. Because that standard's been set now. It
Mhm.
would be really bad to regress.
Yeah. Um yeah, I completely agree. Like sort of thinking about reflecting, like I played um weird. I played PlayStation like growing up as a kid. Like I was PlayStation 1, I was PlayStation 2, like didn't have Nintendo, didn't have the original Xbox. And then like going into middle school, like in early high school, you got Halo 3, you've got like Modern Warfare 2 and things like that, and like wanting to play with my friends, and they were all Xbox, and I literally had to just like throw my PlayStation out the window and buy an Xbox, and I just
Right.
committed to that ever since. And it's interesting to like to think, because I don't know, I feel like in a weird way it's this sort of like double-edged sword where embracing more cross-play, sort of like you feel like you lose the edge of getting people to buy your thing for your game. But in my mind, like I might still be a PlayStation player if I could have just played with my friends. You know what I mean? I think like being able, I know that, for example, Chaz is a PlayStation person and Calvin is an Xbox person. But like if they wanted to play together, if it's crossplay, then they can play on their system that they're comfortable with and they like. If it's not, then they have to think about a decision that should be easy for them. And so that I think like it's something that's beneficial to the consoles. And I think it's something that I would like to see come forward, but there's a lot of things that have to come to the table. You have to look into the licensing of like if a game is going out to the Xbox Game Pass, do they want that to be crossplay? Do they want it to stay Xbox? What does that look like when you're dealing with a third party sort of system like that? And then what do the developers want? What nets them the most profit and the most money? I don't know.
So another challenge is, where do you where is the balance between consumer happiness and monetary gain?
Hmm.
Because like you said, is it always in the best interest of the developer or of the publisher company to enable cross-platform? But if if that's the thing that everybody wants, like the whole reason I bought my Xbox One was so I could play Call of Duty with Joe and Calvin.
Hmm.
Like that was literally the whole reason I bought the whole system.
Right.
I shouldn't have had to do that. That was a big purchase, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you as the publisher or the developer knows everybody's gonna play 2K, everyone's gonna play Call of Duty, everyone's gonna play this, that, or the other, is it that much more to add that cross-platform play, especially now that that code is already out there in the wild and seemingly perfect?
One
Not
thing
perfect,
that's
but
interesting is you because you might did you have something to say, Joe?
I was gonna say that the recent Call of Duty is cross-platform
Okay.
yeah.
for all systems, which is a big jump. And since it's a big giant franchise, I think that was a big step for them.
Right,
And,
it's pretty much the front runner of shooters.
yeah,
So.
and if
Yeah.
they were able to succeed and balance the PlayStation Network, the PC network and the Xbox, and it all worked perfectly fine, then it's a open to a new door
Right.
for everyone.
Mhm.
Right.
There shouldn't be any reason why any other game developers
And
should be able to do it.
that's kind of what I
Right.
was gonna say. Is I think we're at the point that I think that we've kind of gotten over the quote unquote big dicks. I have Xbox or PS5.
Yes.
We're kind of at like there still are people that are gonna flex, and you can, but like the big thing right now is there's like a personal flex for each system that I think is strong enough to like you said, the only reason you bought an Xbox was so that you could play with your friends. Technically, you're a PlayStation guy because you like the exclusives. Calvin is a Xbox guy because he likes the specs and the solid run ability of like the system, performance. So like if you have Xbox for performance and then PS4 or PS5 for exclusives, you technically still have a pull to buy either one, which is good
Right.
because their business model isn't like shattered. Like, because that's what you would worry about if you're sitting in the developers room and you're just like, okay, well, we made cross-platform. Who's gonna buy PlayStation if it's literally the shittier console? But saying it's shittier is looking at only one side of the coin, because they do technically both bring things to the table.
And that's kind of where it goes back to PlayStation solving the problem with money. Because you're right. If you have everything that points to helping your competitor, why would people choose you? Uh, and that's why I fear that when things get too good, they're gonna slap more restrictions or more exclusivity onto the already multi-platform games.
Is he super quiet to you?
I feel
Oh,
like
yeah, I'm
your
really
mute
quiet.
mic.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really quiet. There you go. So I feel like it's almost like, I don't know who said it earlier, but it was talking about like customer satisfaction
Mhm.
versus monetary gain, and it's almost as if the line has been drawn between like that. That's almost like when you look at it from a business standpoint, that's the line that has been drawn between PlayStation and Xbox. PlayStation, like you've said multiple times, Chaz, solving their problems by throwing money at developers, solving problems by doing exclusive DLC that's only available to PlayStation for a whole month or a whole year prior to anybody else, whether it's, a cross-platform game or whatever. Um, they're throwing their money at developers in situations to solve their problems because of the fact that so many people. I mean, there's statistics out there that show that PlayStation has sold better than Xbox in the past couple of generations. There's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
But they're taking all of that money that they made and they're just trying to solve their current problems with that money that they made. Now,
Yeah.
Xbox or Microsoft, they're who is it, Phil Spencer or whatever, he said multiple times, he goes, I want all of the games that we have that are multiplayer to be cross-platform. I want all of, he's like, there's been talks of Game Pass coming to the Switch. There's been talks of Game Pass being, brought over to PlayStation. Xbox, I feel like, is more towards customer satisfaction. Not saying that PlayStation doesn't give a damn about customer satisfaction. It's just they solve their problems way more with the ridiculous amount of monetary value that they have gained.
It definitely seems, yeah, like I would say that Xbox is kind of looking out for the gamer a little
Right.
bit more these
Yeah.
days.
So it seems.
And
Yeah.
now that kind of brings up a question I've thought about a lot, and I'm going to throw Nintendo in with this too. And it's definitely a Eastern versus Western developer or company. Like Nintendo and Sony are Japanese. Microsoft is American.
Yeah.
Now, is that a Japanese business mentality of let's solve our problems with the money, or let's worry more about the money now, worry about customer satisfaction later?
Right.
Where you have Microsoft that's like, yeah, they're like, let's try to put Game Pass on Nintendo. Let's try to put Game Pass on PlayStation. Let's try to do it on the Google Stadia. So like I and that's kind of where I think that some things might get lost in translation is like just different cultural philosophies. I don't know. That might be a
It-
thing. I don't know.
It could very well be a cultural uh, difference between the two. But I feel like just kind of cut and dry between the two consoles. Like Nintendo is kind of its own beast because
It's
like
so different.
it's so
Yeah.
different from PlayStation and
I would love,
Xbox.
I would love to have an episode dedicated to Nintendo's just philosophies on shit because they're so backwards compared to the other two, their
Yeah.
competitors. But
Um,
And it
That-
sucks too because again, a different argument, but they have so much they have so much potential. They technically could be the best gaming system if
Yeah,
they just
they
didn't
really
clown
could.
on online shit.
right.
And like listened to consumer base. But like that again, different episode.
Yeah. But like there's just so many different points between PlayStation and Xbox that lead me to believe that PlayStation is in this for the money, which you're running a business. You should be in it for the money.
Yeah.
It would be dumb to be in this whole business and to build up this giant almost like monolith of a business to not be in it to make money.
Mhm.
You can't run a business like this if you're not making money. But I feel like PlayStation leans way more heavy on the making money side of it and not the let me listen to my customers and listen to the gamers and like, you know, take their feedback and build upon it and make it a better experience for all of my customers versus Xbox that they've listened. They want to do more for their customers. They want to make it an enjoyable experience, even if they can't bring the exclusivity or have all of the marketing for every single game like Call of Duty and stuff like that right out the bat because they don't want to throw the money out to it. As long as the content that they're bringing to you is an enjoyable experience, even if it's more enjoyable than what PlayStation is bringing to the table, I feel like that's where they're winning.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in the end, it leads to it could. Like I think like I think you're right in terms of the short term, but it gives Microsoft an opportunity to leverage gamer interest into long-term financial gain in terms of the fact that if you have a room where people are squabbling and like making choices and you come in and you're like, yo, like who wants pizza? And everybody wants pizza, so they run to you. Then basically it doesn't matter, what the guy with a bunch of veggie wraps is saying or like what this guy's saying. Like nothing matters because you brought something to the table that what you like veggie wraps? Like you brought something to the table that the
right.
people want.
Ez is dying.
Yeah, I know. I
No, you
saw
know what
him.
it
He's
is?
dying. Yeah.
it's the community gif of Donald Glover walking into the burning room with the pizza boxes,
Yeah.
and the burning room is gaming.
Well,
That's what it is.
okay, that's not exactly where I was going with it, but like I guess you're right. Sure. But it's the fact of the matter is if you walk into the room while everybody's trying to sell people something and you just present the obvious better solution, then it just makes the other people look bad. Like
Right.
if you see that one company is trying to provide crossplay and more accessibility to the games and the other companies aren't at that point yet because they don't want to be at that point, then you force the hand because people will gravitate toward that because you're the one giving people what they want. And then in the end that can lead you to be in a situation where you're making more money. And then you also then strong arm PlayStation and maybe Nintendo into coming to the table a little bit more because like you've demonstrated like you took the plunge and brought everybody
Right.
to you, and so they to survive they kind of have to come to the table and talk about it. You sort of force the hand a little bit. I don't know where I was
Right,
going
and
with
so-
the pizza thing, but there it is.
No, it makes sense. So do you think, and this is a question I'm asking to either the chat on Miners at Ease or
My chat
You guys-
dead.
Ooh, mine's dead too, don't worry.
It's fine,
Uh,
as expected.
but and also to the later YouTube export of this stream. But I'm also asking you guys in the chat with us right now, do you think that Nintendo and Sony will take the bait this generation? Because it's clear that Microsoft is baiting them. Do you think that they're going to take it?
Sony, probably Nintendo. I don't think they would take the bait
Yeah.
even if you held their jaws open.
Yeah, I don't think Nintendo
Yeah.
cares.
I don't
Well,
think
to,
Nintendo
and to be
gives a
honest,
damn.
I don't think they really need to.
Right.
No, they don't need to care.
Their business model focuses more on the physical system and its nuances. Like you have the Switch, so you can play handheld or on the move. That just like is such a different concept that's being brought to the table that they can kind of write their own ticket. So there's that. But
What about you, Joe? Nice.
all right, big nice. So on that note, that works perfectly for what I wanted to do because at some point during this stream, I wanted to bring it up. It's technically a meme topic, but I wanted to talk about which one looked cooler.
Oh.
One look cool.
They both look like shit.
Oh, okay, all right, hot take.
They both look
Okay,
Hot take. Quote
all
it.
right, so
It's in the
as a
thumbnail.
group, we're gonna go through each one, and each person will give a 1 out of 10 on each system, and
Okay.
we can just start
Alright.
there. So I'll start.
Okay.
I will say Xbox, and this is initial reactions. I will say Xbox. I gave it a solid like maybe 5 out of 10. It wasn't terrible, but I definitely thought it was a mini fridge before a game system. Okay, and then so PS5 came out and was literally Kaiba, and I was like solid maybe 7.
He
You
said
know,
Kaiba.
Literally Kaiba.
literally said I am a next gen console against your past gen deck. Like literally.
You're a third-rate console
Third-rate
with
console.
a fourth-rate game library.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm on 5 out of 10 on Xbox and 7 out of 10 on PlayStation.
Fair.
Joe?
I'm
We'll
gonna
give him
go
a minute.
with
He's
Oh no,
sure.
he's here. Okay.
We'll give him
Nah,
that.
I'm gonna give Xbox 8.
Sorry, it's your opinion. Sorry.
No,
Just
it's
for the
cool. No,
simple
it's cool.
fact- No, just
Actually,
for the
so
simple
what I'm gonna
fact
do-
because
one thing I'm gonna
their reaction.
It was interesting.
I did it intentionally. I was gonna do it no matter what he said. Go ahead.
well, all the other Xbox, like I don't know, I've always owned like the first generation of Xboxes, and they've been always so bulky, and this one is just
That's true.
it's just I don't know how wide or like how tall it's gonna be, but it is a lot smaller than the previous bulkiness of the Xbox. That's just how I see it.
Okay, fair point.
PlayStation 1 is pretty lit. I do like the PlayStation. That would I have to say a 9.
Very optimistic.
Easily impressed.
Right.
All right, Mikey?
All right, so I mean, I don't know. I agree that they are both ugly. Like, I don't know how
Yeah,
I could
they're-
give
yeah.
either of them above a 7. I think so. Looking at the Xbox, it's too cubey, man. It's too squarish. Like, maybe it's conditioning from it always being rectangular, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like, make it look more like a PC at that point. It's just very squarish. I give it a I'll go 5. I'll go 5 on the Xbox. PlayStation, I like the thought, but it's so unpractical. Like like why give it that extra height? Now I'm trying to put it in my entertainment center, and now I can't because it has a freaking collar on it. Like it's popped collar. Like
The collar.
what are you
Kinda.
doing? So I don't know. I like the design of it. Like I like that you went for it. You just missed. I'm gonna give the PlayStation a 4.
Interesting. Our first PlayStation losing.
Okay. Calvin?
So, fuck. So, the Xbox when it first came out, you know, it was all the memes and everything. Me personally, I mean, you guys all know what my PC looks like. I have an NZXT case. Very, very,
We have the same case.
right.
Or-
Yeah, we
Sort
right,
of.
but I love the case that I have, and when I saw the Xbox Series X, I wouldn't say that I loved it, but I was okay with it more than most people because of the fact that I like that clean look. I like the clean box. I like the boxy look of the console.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
that.
So
That's what I was pretty much.
now, what if they threw tempered glass on it?
But if they threw tempered glass on it, I would buy 10.
Okay, but let's not digress here. So
Yeah,
sure, sure.
we're doing an out of 10 thing. So what are you giving? Xbox?
So I would probably give it like a solid 7.
Okay.
And then the PlayStation 5, when I first saw it, I thought it looked okay. But when I started to kind of look at it more, I I liked it. I liked the looks of it less than the Xbox, purely because of the fact that I feel like they were trying to do too much with it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I
Now, I
felt.
will say one thing with the PlayStation. I actually like the console a lot, but I don't really like the controller.
Yeah, the
'Cause
controller is not
because
great.
they have stayed the same like forever, and then they finally like this one they changed it.
Yeah.
And kind of drastically, but
Right. But because like I feel like they were just trying to do too much with it, so I would probably give it probably a 5. Just middle of the road. It's not too bad, but it ain't great.
okay,
Yeah.
So Chaz is up.
All right. So when I first saw the Series X, I was actually driving because I pulled it up on Twitch during the
Rip
reveal.
car.
Rip
And well, I was at a red light, but I
Tie
saw
rods?
it and I was like, "Yo,
Arrest
what the
this
fuck
man."
We are not talking about the tire rod." I saw it. I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck is this?" Because like Mikey and Joe said, I'm used to the bulkiness and rectangularness. So when I saw it, and because they showed it upright, which is I think how it's supposed to be actually like
Could be
stored.
Yeah, it could be either one.
I do
Uh,
think both of them can be either, but they both look like upright is the
but
way to go.
Yes.
Yeah, but when I saw it, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" So initial response to it, probably a 4
To the
Okay.
Xbox.
Okay.
to the Xbox. Yes. For the PlayStation, now, yeah, I thought it was Kaiba. So, but when I saw it, my first thought was, "Oh, they're going with the Astrobot color scheme," which is, for those who don't know, is a game that they tried pushing really hard on the PS4, both on launch and with the VR. And just judging by the colors of the white, black, and blue, it looks like they're still trying to push Astrobot. So the one with the disc is a solid like 3. The one without the disc is a 7
Yeah.
Wow.
because it looks more
Are we
form
gonna-
fitting.
You gonna average that? Maybe a 5 then.
Yeah, a 5.
Good math. Good math.
So yeah, because I compiled all the numbers and I was gonna give an average here.
Go ahead.
Statistical
Oh, well, yeah.
analysis.
Oh fuck,
Sweet.
on the spot, haven't added it up. Jesus.
Oh, I thought you
Make
hold on.
fake
You're
news. All right, so we're awaiting the results of this
what's
Okay, I got it.
number
then
crunching.
One more.
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Did it
Let me
tie?
just tell you, somebody won by 1 point.
Oh, I figured.
So
Yeah.
we both just like all of us assume that both of the consoles are just mediocre.
Yeah.
Yes. To
I
be
almost
honest,
tied him at 5, honestly.
So we have Sony coming in at 30 points. Which for the record, if anybody knows grading scales, is not great. And then you have Xbox coming in at 31.
Oh, right.
Which are both bad.
Which is both not great.
They're both bad.
What's
They're
that?
both
That's
bad.
out of 50? Yeah, it's out of 50.
It's out of 50. So that's like
Yeah, we're
what,
getting-
60%? Technically you passed.
We're getting.
But,
They
like,
both
oh my
pass. They
God.
both pass.
Room
They
for
both passed.
improvement, gentlemen.
Yeah, definite room for improvement.
All
Just
right.
based
I'm
on
glad
what
They
you
you
are.
definitely
After all.
both have a D- at best, and we
Right.
ran the numbers.
Yeah. So the result of our conversation is Xbox D-, PlayStation D-.
Right.
Like-
Both consoles fell halfway doing their
Yeah.
mile run.
Right. One
Oh,
of them
the
just has
knee-
like
the
a severe
skin
smoker's
knees.
cough, and the other one just blew its knee out. Like, which one's actually worse? But like, it doesn't matter. They're both AIDS.
They're both bad.
Oh, dear Lord. Dear Lord. Any closing remarks here? Closing remarks on our conversation here? How do we feel going forward? What are we going to buy? What are we going to buy?
So that is a good question. Chaz brought up a very solid argument. If I had to choose, I would probably buy an Xbox if I didn't have a PC, but because of the exclusivity, I might go with PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
But there aren't any exclusive PlayStation games for me to buy specifically, so I would probably lean just in Xbox just because, like, I guess there is Halo, and that's pretty cool. But I could play it on PC.
Mhm, mhm.
So mine's kind of like in the middle of the road. I probably won't get any. But this is more for like I would say that people that primarily game on consoles.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Like speaking for myself, so like as a primarily PC gamer, I mean, I think probably the game I'm most excited about right away is Halo Infinite. And I mean, to be honest, I will probably get it on PC because that's where I spend most of my time. Though in terms of console, like there is logic sense in getting a PlayStation if most of the Xbox games will be available on PC, which I already have. But I do probably imagine I will lean more toward Xbox just in terms of my own personal preference and what I'm used to and just like the Game Pass and the library that it'll bring me. So I think I'll probably
Right.
lean more toward Xbox. Though I don't anticipate myself buying either at launch, being a delayed purchase for sure.
Joe.
I'm on the same boat as Mikey. With the whole Xbox. Majority of the games will be out on PC, and with PlayStation not having many titles named, I'm gonna give it some time before I.
Right? Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think in the thing we're going to notice with a lot of this is it's like you may have the only thing you can really go off of is kind of like your console party lies essentially,
Mhm.
like
Right.
where you're going to kind of just go with your safe bet and go with the one that you usually
Which I think is
says.
telling in the fact that there isn't any information out right now that really pushes you in a sense of urgency to break that line. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's something.
At least for us, I feel like there's not a ridiculous amount of
Well,
urgency.
being PC gamers, it's sort of
yeah.
like it sort of
We're-
frees you from that debate.
Yeah, so we're kind of a niche group where all of us do PC gaming now, where we're kind of broken away from that stigma of having to buy the next console
Mhm.
when it comes out, like launch console. If you don't have the next console, you're just some scrub.
No, our version is buying a new graphics card and get cucked.
Right, buying a graphics card that's $500 every 2 years because we're
Yeah.
like, yo, fuck me.
Yeah.
It's true. I need to get
Right.
one.
So, me personally, I probably won't get either until more is brought to the table for either one. We still don't know price. Release date is for both of them are probably going to be like mid-November, mid to late November. I'm thinking, because a lot of the games that have release dates for those consoles are around November. So it makes sense for those games or for the consoles to come out in November.
It's
for
going
those
to
games.
come out the week before Black Friday or like the week of, like
Right,
one or
yeah.
two.
Which Black Friday, if that's the case, Black Friday will be crazy this
It'll
year.
be lit.
COVID.
I want to save that as an actual closing remark about retailers and Black Friday. But Calvin, were you finished with your?
No, so so I probably will not get either one until we get more information. If I had to choose today which one I would get, it would probably be Xbox.
Yeah, if I had to make the gut decision call, mine would probably be PlayStation 5 because I mean, if you tell me Blue Eyes White Dragon doesn't reign supreme, you're wrong.
Right.
But like, it's literally that's how bad it is because we're choosing off a meme sense almost.
Right.
Yeah. Or bad or good. The fact that you have free liberty to choose, like just based off of that, and there's no real limitation on your decision. It's a good
Right.
thing, you know. Comparable in terms of power, you know, good games all throughout. Like, it's a good thing. Chaz, I know your PlayStation, but feel free to explain it.
So yeah, honestly, if I'm also going to wait because I'm actually going to wait a couple years if I can because I want the inevitable upgraded version of either the Series X or the PS5 because you know they're going to do it.
Right.
But as it stands right now, PS5 would probably be the way for me to go, mainly because I really want Miles Morales.
Looks good.
And also because the PlayStation is just a JRPG device. If it doesn't go to the Switch, it goes to the PlayStation. And that's just generally the type of games that I play mostly. So, yeah. And everything I want on the Xbox, like Halo, is going to be on the Game Pass. So,
Right.
as it stands, yeah, PS5 is definitely the way that I would probably be going.
Hopefully within the next like month or two they come out with actual pricing information for both consoles.
Well, yeah, because that's a
and
huge
It's a must.
point
that's
as
a huge
well.
thing.
If I
And-
had to guess 100%, I'm gonna guess $5.99.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if $6.99 is a thing.
Yeah, I personally feel the way that they're gonna do it is either it's gonna be $4.99 or $5.99, one of the two, and I feel like Sony is gonna come out with their price first, and if Xbox was smart, say it's $5.99 for a PS5, the not digital edition, the one that comes with the disc drive. If Xbox was smart, they would release their Xbox Series X for anywhere between $20 to $50 cheaper. They would undercut the hell out of PlayStation.
Mhm.
I feel like that's the way that they would win it. If this arbitrary, stupid console war, if they want to win this console war, that would be the way that they would do it.
And it's interesting because if you look at the past, if you look at, I want to say that PlayStation 3 was egregiously expensive when it came out.
Yeah.
Yes,
It was like
it was.
600, and then Xbox was like the easier buy-in one. But then the most recent one, Xbox, was way more expensive, $100 more. And so a lot of people bought PlayStations for that reason. And you can kind of see that with the sales numbers because it's just like that's why PS4 outsold. So I do think it would be very smart on Xbox to do that. Even if they don't undercut hard, they just really need to at least be the same price. I feel like with
That'd be
this system, they
interesting.
both.
Yeah, Microsoft is definitely playing a long game,
Yeah,
and it's just a matter of do they have the stamina to keep going with that? How long that game is going to be?
I feel like they do, but
think
I
so.
guess time will only really tell.
So, I think this will lead us to closing remarks. Retailers, Black Friday, it's still a few months away, but Walmart, Target, and someone else, so another big retailer, all announced this week that they're backing out of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So, yeah, so Cyber Monday is going to reign supreme this year for sure. But if these consoles are going to be releasing, like Jeremy said, right around Black Friday, I wonder how that's going to hit sales numbers or affect sales. Because if I'm going to assume that due to COVID, Black Friday in-store shopping is just not going to exist.
probably
Or
shouldn't.
if it does, it's going to be an issue. So I'm curious that if they do wait until the week before Black Friday or on Black Friday week to release these consoles, how that's going to affect things.
This is what they're gonna do. I'm gonna tell you right now. This is exactly what they're gonna do.
The man knows.
Okay.
He knows.
Okay. They're not even gonna send it to those stores. They're gonna send like maybe a pallet's worth to those stores just to have like a display,
A presence.
Okay.
Yeah.
a presence. Okay. They're just gonna airlift pallets of these consoles and just drop them in fields.
Make
Like
people
they're
fight for 'em.
Right, and we're just gonna fight for them.
I like it.
That's how it's gonna happen.
So I heard you
You ever
guys
heard of
really
Battle
liked
Royale?
Warzone.
Let's go.
Right, like literally, yeah, it's literally what it is, like a care package, but it's just Xboxes and like full blown Kaibas.
Full blown Kybus.
So if obviously if the PlayStation is Kaiba, then what is the Xbox? Is it Yugi?
Rex.
Oh, just it's irrelevant.
Just irrelevant.
Like
I was
No.
gonna say Joey Wheeler, but I laughed before I could say it.
I mean,
This is
Ah.
random little black box, and like Chaz is standing, like, yo, look at this Bandit Keith looking mother.
oh my god.
yeah, exactly.
God.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess ultimately at the end of the day, it really is Kaiba versus Yugi. But it just sucks that the Xbox looks nothing like Yugi.
Yeah.
Huge failure. Like you
Are
could
you-
They
Oh,
really
just
yeah.
dropped
it
the
should
ball
come with
here.
a wig that you just put on the cube.
Yeah, make it
It
overheat.
comes with two things. It comes with a wig and an American flag bandana.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
There we go.
And the other one, DLC.
God.
These are the exclusive editions. So you get the wig and the Bandit Key thing. And then the other one you can get. Obviously the console is Kaiba, and then you can get the Joey Wheeler jacket.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Joey Wheeler Jack.
I just picture that like the power cable for the Series X, like the box on the power cable is a Millennium Puzzle, you know? It's
You gotta
just-
solve it to plug it in.
you finally solve it, you get on, and there's 3 people
Just
on the
fumble,
server
just-
worldwide, and it's like what?
Right,
No,
you
it's like nobody figured it
fumble.
out yet.
Nobody figured it out. I'm the only one here.
Some kid in Egypt, and he's just threatening to send you to the Shadow Realm.
Standing there with a deck of cards.
It's like big regret.
Right, big regret. I don't want. Why did I buy this?
Everybody else is a Kaiba Corp, just having a good time.
God. Popping their
With
collar.
pizzas and veggie wraps.
With
With
pizzas and
veggie wraps.
yeah. Pizza's
Alright, well-
superior.
I think that's a good spot to call it.
I would say so.
Does anybody have anything they want to plug? Any social media, stream names, anything?
Twitch.tv/Sangamonsta with an A.
EagleNews.facebook.
Calvin, you don't want to plug RGB Customs?
Oh yeah, my Instagram for my car that has nothing to do with this conversation.
Uh,
Get him. Get him. Get him.
Why the fuck?
If you're watching this through my Twitch, as you can see up here, I have my name, my Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. Feel free to follow them. I don't stream often. When I do, I try to make it fun.
Yeah, fun
Uh,
person watching you.
Fuck you. This is going on a VOD on YouTube.
God, this censoring I'm gonna have to do.
Well, this one is much more fun than Chaz's last stream. I like it. Chaz's last stream was a silent Paper Mario, and it was interesting.
Silent.
It was like 2 in the morning.
Like,
Dude,
watching
like,
it.
No, I literally told you. I was like, Chaz, you need to talk to your chat, man. Like,
I was
I
falling
I literally thought you fell asleep. Like, I was getting worried.
It was really late. But all right,
Yeah,
Mikey.
No,
Yeah,
most,
three
most
balls.
of your streams are not that way, but this is good.
This is true. This is true. Twitch.tv/Mr. Zeddy. I am streaming right now, and there's not a whole lot of people in here, so please help me out. You can find it there. I would plug my Instagram, but why? I don't post on it. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. This is looking to be a reoccurring thing. Hopefully, I think the goal is to set this for Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. or time. We'll see how it goes. But I
I'm
felt like
getting
this kind of worked out pretty well for right now. So you can find this here. Also to develop if going to be posting this on the YouTube channel under the same name, Mr. Zeddy. I'm going to be posting the VODs of these. This is episode 1, and we'll kind of keep an archive of them as we go. So you can find them there as well in case you miss it. But yeah, appreciate all the people who are here. If anybody is here that's not just in this conversation.
I also want to ask you guys, the people watching this, if you have any ideas that you would like us to talk about, research, do something with, let us know.
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
always, we're always down for new topics.
Below.
Yeah, leave comments below either on the video or there or on the RGB Customs Instagram page.
Yeah,
I'll read-
specifically the
read
one of the
it.
car.
he
Squad up. Let's move
yo
up.
yo he replies. He
Right, I do
replies,
reply.
ladies and gentlemen.
You will be followed by at least 3 Ford Fusion owners.
Probably.
It's true with
We
sick
like
mods.
to swarm.